If you want, you can go get some coffee or whatever.
Cool.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. I got vaccinated day before yesterday, and I thought that today will be easy, and then I woke up with great effort. So yeah, but I have been vaccinated. Now I don't need RT-PCR to travel in flights, which I'm not planning to take in any case. But still, good morning to everybody. I hope everyone's good. Let's take a couple of comments that have already popped in. Um, what's it? Lokesh Tuck says, please do live with KV again on Indian history. I am talking to actually a bunch of people. Manu Pillai I was talking to, and I think Ramchandra Guha, and trying to get a bunch of people. So yeah, I've just gotten a little lazy about that, and some of them are just waiting for the books to release. So that'll happen. Nikhil Singh Rajput says late Latif. That is correct. I apologize once again. Akshay K says, why is Saurabh Pant not yet joined Clubhouse? It's too much, man. It's too much. It's like how many I'm going to join Koo, the Indian version of Twitter. That I'm going to join for sure. And I'm just going to copy paste everything I do on Twitter right to Koo, because yesterday, as I discovered on an episode of The Expert, that Koo is the Indian version of Twitter, because birds go tweet and coils go coo, and hence it's Koo, which is hilarious and wonderful. So I'm going to join Koo. Please do give a like, so that we get more people sort of tuning in today. Today is going to be largely about cricket and sports, and also other things in and around that. So it'll be fun. The way the YouTube algorithms work is that the more likes it gets, the more sort of people tune in. That's it. Gary Carlson says sleeping for 12 hours. Yeah, dude. Yesterday, in fact, I slept for only 9 hours. Day before yesterday, I slept for 12 hours. It's a lot. Just a couple of things. We have a lot of guests coming up over the next week. I've not announced the lineup just yet, because uh, I've literally spent 4 days trying to figure out a place to get the vaccine from, and getting like nervous that, hey, I'm going to be budge out for about 3 days. So just planning it as per that, which is bizarre. But do give a like, and do subscribe, because we have elderly people who are confirmed for the next couple of weeks. I have to get back in touch with Sonali Bindra and Ritesh Deshmukh, as I have not done for the last 2 months. Who else? We have Jammy Pants popping in at some stage. I don't know when. I think Christian Machari Shrikant also I need to get in touch with again. I think he was a little caught up in the middle. And who else is there? And a bunch of comedians. I think Kumar Varun has not been here for a while. I think KV and Subramanian would be a good sort of hook. Just to announce that every week we're doing a show called The Expert, where I talk about the news. Every week is a new show about the news. Yesterday we covered Sushil Kumar, Naomi Osaka, Juhi Chawla, and the 5G trial. A free beer in the US, which is for vaccination, which is hilarious, and all sorts of things. A really fun lineup this Saturday. I'm hoping to get a comedian friend along with me. So tickets are for $2.99. If you're a member on my original channel, level 2 or level 3, you get it free. So lots of fun stuff lined up, friends. So please support if you can. Mohan Kumar Siva Kumar says, when is Abhi Bhai coming? I'm waiting to hear him. You know what? Just for you, man. Just for you, Mohan Kumar Siva Kumaram. What a great name, first of all. Beautiful. It's got a rhythm to it, my friend. Okay, I want to introduce my only guest for today. He's the highest run getter for Tamil Nadu in the Ranji Trophy last year. He is overall in the run getters in Ranji Trophy history. He's number 18 currently, which is probably going to go up, obviously going to go up. He's played 7 tests for India. Very interesting gentleman. Please give it up for Mr. Abhinav Mukund. Abhinav, please come.
Namaste. Vanakkam.
Vanakkam to you also. Now we are ready. Now I forgot
Wow.
prop, this is to prove that this is a cricket.
Now you look like Vikram Sataye.
Yeah. I was actually trying not to look like Vikram Sataye. That's why I covered my head. Good morning, Abhinav. Yeah.
Good morning, Sorabh. It's fantastic to be on your show on a bright Sunday morning. And you look as bright as ever. We're matching T-shirts. I'm sure our wavelengths will match too. So, well, what do you have for me?
You look like the galaxy, and I look like the garden in the galaxy.
You know what? I saw. I was like, okay, let me look at Wake Up with Saurabh clips. Like, let's see like what he's up to on his shows. And I saw a dude who had a pool table in the background. So I'm like, I just told the wife, can you just put some plants at least? Like, like I thought if not for apparently the guy can buy pool tables for the whole country. So
I mean, I would say, even though the 100 crore salary is apparently just it's not really a thing, as he clarified right up top. No, listen, do you sometimes, I mean, I'll keep the flow as it is, okay? Do you sometimes meet somebody and you're like, my God, you're rich? And in Nikhil Kamat's case, I'm like, you've completely earned it, right? Because he's if essentially turned a business into a ridiculously profitable one purely on the basis of his own investments, right? So in that particular case, I'm like, holy hell, you've completely done it. But
correct.
sometimes you meet people where you're like, and he doesn't even I think he should be more condescending and disgusting about his money. Like if I had that kind of money, I would just come on my own show and say, "Shut up, you bald ass, and you don't know how much income tax I filed last year." Like I'd be that kind of person.
I think which is why precisely people like you and I don't make that kind of money.
Okay, so that's our take on many things. Okay, let's first of all we'll cover what's been happening currently, and then we'll get into so many interesting things about your career. Well, I want to talk about what do you think is happening in England versus New Zealand right now. A lot of things happening around that particular test, right? First of all, Ollie Robinson, great debut, and also, what do you think of how it's gone so far for England?
I don't think they expected it to be a flat wicket, right? I think they were kind of hoping that there would be something for them initially on the first 2 days, except I think New Zealand did in England because we're always talking of English players not being English. There was a South
Yeah.
African New Zealander who beat them at their own game. So uh, it was really fun to watch. I went back to memories of me playing at Lords, and I was thinking of the honors board, and I think it's been well documented that I got out on 49 in Lords. So I was thinking of Devin Conway and how he made 200 at Lords. So it's fantastic for him, and I hope he has a great career ahead. But I think the test match is interestingly poised because I think New Zealand will get to about 270, 275 and probably push for a win. Could be an
Yeah.
interesting day's play today.
Yeah, I mean, though it seems like it might just actually not really land up being anything, right?
Yeah.
Because that one rained out day.
Yeah.
So for WTC, they basically said that they're keeping an extra reserve day just in case it rains, which should be
Correct.
interesting.
Correct.
I got to ask you, like, when playing somebody like, say, a Kyle Jamieson, who essentially comes from that height and also looks like he could possibly eat you, like, do you ever go like, is that an intimidating presence? Like, especially being an opening batsman, somebody with a brand new cherry coming in, is that does the height and the physicality ever play into, aside from the skills? I mean, he's probably like one of the top four best all rounders in Test cricket right now. Aside from that, does that ever intimidate you?
It has actually. I've played someone similar of that height, a guy called Chris Tremlett. I think there was a recent picture of him with Sachin Paji where he was looking beefed up. But yeah, essentially you feel like you're playing Space Jam, right? Sometimes you're just looking up, just looking up and seeing all of these guys at that height. And I'm wondering, where are these guys on our team? Except for Ishant Sharma, I don't see. I've never come across another bowler who's that tall.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our average height is about 5'8", right? If I'm not wrong, the average Indian man. But it does make a difference technically because when the ball's being delivered from about 10, 11 feet, like there, right from up there, it's above the frame even. You tend
Yeah.
to look up and then you look down. So it does make a bit of a difference. I think Cheteshwar Pujara, being Pujara, posted one of his pictures and he was shadow batting and he was already looking up. So he's already like shadow batting to Kyle Jamieson.
Hilarious. That's but I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta give. I mean, even Devin Conway, I think he did like the preparation for a test match is so interesting to me because like Devin Conway said that he was putting kitty litter to like in the front of the pitch to deal with Ashwin's spin, etc., etc. which I read that and I was like, that's a bit much. And then you saw him bat and you're like, yeah, man, do what you got to do. And this obviously works out nicely for you. Did you ever have a weird preparations for a specific bowler where you're like, oh, I got to deal with X, Y, Z, so I got to do something slightly unusual?
Um, I've done it in the middle of a Ranji Trophy game. So one of the teams, I think it was Uttar Pradesh or one of those teams that we were playing, was already batting on 70 odd. And they just decided, okay, we're not going to get him out nicking off or bowled or LBW. We're just going to hit his head. So they decided every single ball is going to be a bouncer. So I just stood like Fawad Alam, if you know what I mean. So I just kept my bat up in the air. And I'm like, okay, bowl as many bouncers as you can, try and hit me. Like, let's see where that goes. So as far as techniques are concerned, it's meant to be adaptive. I think we're too focused on technique sometimes. I agree it's a very good thing, but sometimes it's good to go with the flow, adapt according to conditions, because that's the beauty and challenge of playing any cricket match, because there's so many variables involved. You can't say one size fits all.
But who are the bowlers in Uttar Pradesh? Like, I'm trying to imagine who, if they were intimidating or not.
Ankit Rajput, do you know who he is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ankit
Yeah.
Rajput was one of those, and there was another guy who was making his debut. So we call them like a fresh horse, right? Because they've not done the rigors of a Ranji season, and they're coming in there and trying to prove it to them that, okay, I can hit a test player on his head. So
is that? I'm sure that's a badge of honor, which is almost equal to getting a normal person's wicket. Where you're like, yeah, I got 4 wickets, but I hit Abhinav Mukund on his head once. Like that's
it
one
is.
wicket.
It's been the claim to fame for so many. Like even Siraj, right?
Yeah.
When he was, I think he hit Virat Kohli on his head in the RCB nets, and after that he's just gone somewhere. But
Yeah.
at least even the other guy, the tall guy who played for Mumbai Indians, Marco Jansen,
Yeah. Yeah.
he troubled some of the Indian batsmen in the nets, and he got called up to play in the IPL. So it's a good route to be a fast bowler. You can't do that as a batsman, right? Everyone hits sixes, but if you do something out of the ordinary, like hit it to the next ground or something like that, then that's the equivalent of it.
Yeah. As a batsman, you can't really hit anybody on the head. Like that's not allowed as per the gentleman's code of conduct.
Correct.
But I got to ask you about this, which is that Ollie Robinson. I mean, that entire the entire drama behind his previous tweets, etc., etc. How do you think that was dealt with? I think they are suspending him for the next match or something. I think or the England cricket board is not letting him play the next one as.
I
Uh,
think they're reviewing it, right? Or have
okay.
they already suspended him? I'm not too sure
I
about it.
I think chat can help us out. Does anybody know what's happening to Ollie Robinson in the next one? Also, we have Snehal Pradhan in the chat. Hi, Snehal, how are you doing? Everyone should look up current pics of Tremlet. He's gone the bodybuilding route. Yeah, we saw that photograph. My God. Like, it was like, I've rarely seen a photograph in which Sachin doesn't look the most intimidating person. Like, dude, Chris Tremlet. It's pretty ridiculous. But yeah,
Correct.
so what do you think of the handling? I mean, I'll just Google what the status is if
Yeah,
he's going to
so
play. Yeah.
I never actually deviate from questions. I always give an answer to a question, but for the first time,
Yeah.
I'm going to re-ask the question to you. So what were you doing when you were 18, 19? I don't know.
Um,
Were you tweeting a lot of, you can get away with anything. You're a stand-up comedian, right? Like
oh
you can
no
say,
no 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 oh,
you're
no
not,
no no
you can't,
no.
you,
Oh
you
my
can't.
God, no chance. No chance.
So you
I
have
mean, and
a,
also the thing is that the truth is that you have, like, in the past, right, as a comedian or whoever you are as a person, right, if social media exists, like, you have said something stupid at some stage in your life, for
yeah,
sure. And
correct.
especially like when I was 18, like 18, yeah, I'm just glad social media did not exist. Right, because I mean, just to give you an idea, we were organizing a college festival, and we spent the night in college, and everybody thought it was really funny to just run around college topless. So there were four of us just doing
Wow.
that, and this was a college. It was a proper government institution, and I know
Wow.
for a fact that if social media had been around, that pictures of that would be all over, and we would have got suspended. Like, my my career would have ended like that. And I mean, not that it helped much, but yeah, I mean, I think that it depends. I've always thought that it's about who you are now as opposed to who you were whatever 6 to 12 years back?
It is actually so a couple of things on the whole episode. I think as an international cricketer, as a professional, you kind of mature earlier than others, right? So if when you were in college, we end up playing for India or for IPL or for even your state sides. So you're
Hmm.
almost a professional. You're in the public eye. People see what you do. People follow what you do. You're in the limelight. So there is no excuse for such behavior. I think it's a matter of education and about how people deal with what you react at certain points of time eventually as you grow. I think it's a great learning because I did a coach's course recently with the NCA, and they have a head of education there at NCA. Because essentially we don't go to school as cricketers, right? We hardly are in schools, and most of us don't have degrees anymore. It's not like the 90s. Um, it's important to be educated, but again, I feel ECB could have preempted this happening,
Hmm.
because if they're going to pull up Jofra Archer tweets from 1997, then you are going to you are bound to get pulled up for something that you did like 10 or 9 years ago. That's the story, right? Like everyone
Hmm.
wants to know what you're doing. I'm glad good things came out for Devon Conway, but I think Ollie Robinson put it right. He was very sorry for what he did, but he also said that my biggest day of my career has been marked by the things that I've done in the past, and there's no running away from it, which is good on him. I hope he's learned from it, but I just wish ECB could have preempted it. I know it's a very difficult thing to do,
Hmm.
uh, but that's my take on it.
I think Michael once said a similar thing where he said you need to start vetting players' social media before bringing them on.
Why not?
Uh, yeah. So you agree that that's something that, especially in the modern era, you genuinely need to do.
Yeah, so I know of big corporates who go on your Facebook profile and check who your friends are and what their friends are doing. I'm sure like you get vetted if you enter a big corporate, right? So
Hmm.
it should be normal. We are in a professional world where again, it's more so for us because we are in the public eye. It's not like I'm undermining a job of a corporate, but if you're going to be in a corporate job, you're not going to get pulled up for tweets 10 or 12 years ago. You might just, I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's right, but it's more so for the people in the public eye that you are vetted on social media or any other platform, or before you enter the big stages.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that the way that would have gone about is that he would have apologized before making his debut and like sort of not resolved it, but at least like sort of whatever the correct word terminology is.
Correct.
I'm afraid to say any words.
Come on. I should be the
No,
one saying that.
no, listen, dude. Like in 2018, I got accused of being like people found jokes of mine in 2018 from like way before, and in the same week, I was accused of being from all sides by different kinds of people. So after a point, I was just like, can everybody make up their mind on what you want me to be exactly? Like, yeah. So I have a lot of sympathy for people trying to understand social media and also things that you can and cannot say. I went through a lot of his tweets. I mean, obviously, this isn't something you want to be putting out in the public sphere. So yeah, I'm glad he's apologized. I'm glad at least and also I understand that people who were the target of that have said, you know what, it's fine. You've apologized. Let's move on and learning from it. Okay, we have a lot of chats popping in. If you'd like to ask Abhinav a question about anything that's happening, please let us know. Shekhar Khaire says Lara or Tendulkar greatest batsman. If those are your two options.
In which format?
Oh yeah. Oh,
So,
Uh,
okay. So,
huh.
just on Test cricket, I'd probably say Tendulkar, the
Hmm.
greatest batsman. My most favorite batsman is Lara. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
My
yeah.
most my childhood. The reason. Okay. Before we get on to anything, this is a great like prelude. I can't believe you thought I was right-handed. I don't know if you're editors or. So the promo of the thing is basically like Sorabh like sent me a huge WhatsApp on, oh, so you can join in at 10:30, blah blah blah. The show will go on for how many ever hours, and And then there's the poster. So I replied to him saying, dude, I'm okay with everything except I'm left-handed.
So I
So
gotta say, yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry. Huh.
yeah, so the reason why I was so adamant when I was young, and my dad made me bat right-handed. I said, I looked at Lara and I have to bat left-handed. I want to bat left-handed. So I am a right-hander, but I bat left-handed. So
Wow, and that's just because of Lara.
exactly.
That's amazing. See, so I had spoken, okay, I had spoken to your family in my mind. And as someone new, I'm a psychic. I can tell all
Wow.
these things. And I know you always was starting off as a right-hander. So no, so I mean, the clarification for that is that again, I had my COVID shot. I was really this thing dazed in life, and I told my okay, you know what? In all honesty, okay, there was a old poster that was designed which we'd never used, which had a particular Indian Test batsman in it who's right-handed, who was supposed to come on the show and then had some scheduling conflict last week. So the guy was like, "Sir, I've designed this now. I won't get paid for this award." I'm like, "You know what? Just use the previous one, and I'll pay you for it." So he just changed the face without researching anything about you. So I'm
Wow.
fully aware that you were a left-hander because I've seen your innings. I remember the 80. I vaguely remember the 49. I also remember I think that there was an incident where I think you were trying to go for a pull shot and then your shoe came off or whatever. I remember that as
That
well.
was in Lords.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Just the biggest stage to make a fool of yourself.
But what a great story. I mean, like a great story with you running with the shoe. You were running with the shoe and the bat, was it?
Yeah. I was just like, okay, what's more important? Like one sock, bat, shoe. I fell down on the ground. Like I was hit on the head. I fell down. And I was literally like limping and going to the other end. So there's a photo of that on Google. If you haven't seen it, like you can embarrass me
Yeah.
more like by looking at it. So yeah. So the funny story is I was not ready to go to it wasn't like I wasn't ready. I was planning to go to the West Indies. So I was picked to
Yeah.
tour West Indies, and my shoes tore when I was in West Indies. So my sponsor at that time sent me a shoe, except it was one size bigger. So I literally played with two socks on, and I played a pull shot. I fell on the ground, and the shoe just came off. So
I,
that's
I, I, lo-
the
I love the sponsor who's like, "What's the shoe size? Let's figure out." Your sponsor is exactly like my thumbnail designer. It's like, yeah, you know everything about Abhinav. That's to know. But I got to ask you this, which is that I remember you saying once that you were captained by Cheteshwar Pujara in a India A, or was it under 19 or something? Was it India A?
India A must be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would actually love to know, like, as a cricketer, how it is because you've been captained by quite a few Indian Test cricketers,
Yeah.
and what's the experience been like? And like I think I remember you saying something about Kohli popping in and how he's like different from Dhoni in the sense that he speaks his mind about everything,
Correct.
which comes with its advantages, etc., etc. So what's your experience been and your learnings been from being captained by multiple Indian Test players?
I think everyone has a style to it. Everyone
Right.
has a kind of way they go about leading a team. Some of them are extremely communicative, extremely like on your face about what is the kind of role that they expect from you. Some assume you know. Some assume that these are the non-negotiables, which I will have a problem if you don't fulfill. And these are things I will let you practice your own way. I will let you prepare your own way and all of that. So I think everyone comes with their strengths, but because Virat and I have sort of grown up together, like I was part of his under 19 World Cup winning team. And since then, I've seen his growth as a leader in so many ways. I think he's embraced the role so much that he kind of sees it as a responsibility to mentor young players now, which is fantastic because every time you hear a story of Virat Kohli spending time with Mayank Agarwal or Shubman Gill or Ishan Kishan, it's really really good, and that's what probably IPL has done to a lot of these players. IPL has made sure the bridge between those international players and the young and upcoming domestic players, the bridge is a lot lesser. You're already playing with them, you're already familiar with them, so you kind of you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and that's fantastic because eventually you will end up playing in the Indian team with one of your IPL teammates, so they do know your strengths and weaknesses, and that is something that has helped Indian cricket immensely.
Yeah, this is related. I mean, the IPL brings me to an interesting thing, which is that I would love to know about your relationship with Ashwin, because Ravichandran Ashwin seems like the kind of person you want in your corner in any cricket match, right? Like I was trying to think about this, where I'm like the impact players, right? Like the most impactful Indian Test players. It's probably Jadeja and Ashwin,
Mhm.
like across the board, with everything that they do in a test match. And I remember this incident. I don't know. I'm sure you do as well. I think Stark got you out, and then I think he pointed to his head,
Yeah.
and then Ashwin later got him out, and then he pointed to his head. Just and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like this person who's like, I remember what you did. So I would love to know your relationship with Ashwin. And you've played quite a lot with him. So what are the learnings? What is he like, and all of that?
So Ashwin and I have again, Ashwin and I went to the same school. He is about 3 or 4 years my senior in school, and since then I've seen his growth. He just loves the game, man. Like I don't know if they say Mike Hussey is Mr. Cricket, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't but Ashwin is actually a guy who will research like everything there is to cricket. He just needs to be one of those very well prepared individuals who go on to a cricket field, and that kind of shows in the way he's performed, especially in Test match cricket. He's been fantastic. I read an article today where Sanjay Manjrekar has said, I disagree that he's a legend of the game. I have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Manjrekar and say he is a legend of the game because he holds several world records. The accusation towards him is always that he's never performed in Sena countries, which is your South Africa, England, New Zealand, Australia. But I think he had a fantastic tour to Australia. And if you look at it that way, and if you just look at the number of 5 wicket hauls he's taken and what an impact he's been to Virat Kohli as a leader, he's probably one of the legends of the game, in my opinion, at least. So I've had a great. I went on his YouTube show during the IPL. He's
Yeah.
turned out to be one of those legendary hosts now. He runs his own YouTube channel, and there's a video like out every day. It's primarily in Tamil, but I can't believe he has the time to juggle between everything, man. Just for fun, he plays international cricket, IPL. He runs a YouTube show. He has a coaching like clinic at. He has an academy in Chennai. He takes care of a corporate team. I just don't know if he has 24 hours or I just don't know. Like he has more.
Listen, I'm intimidated hearing about that many things. Like, I think because Ashwin was the one who prompted. Everybody thought that, hey, listen, you have to retire before you start your YouTube channel. I think initially the barometer was that you have to retire and be a Pakistani cricketer to start a YouTube channel. And then everybody's like, no, listen, this is working well for them, so we should. And Ashwin was like, you can do it when you're playing, man. Not a big deal. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy. I couldn't follow a lot of the conversations. I think you and CPK, our friend CPK,
Oh yeah.
California Pizza Kitchen, aka comedian Praveen Kumar,
Yeah.
and you also grew up in the same area as a mutual friend of ours, Mr. S. Arvind.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so I don't know if you know this about Arvind. Okay, I have never seen any human being, okay, be more contrasting to off stage and on stage persona.
I couldn't agree more. I just couldn't agree more because it just I don't know how he does it, man. Like I don't know how some people are just good with written scripts or something like that, I guess. But he is I, I can't believe he's so scared of like going on stage. He has the nerves, he has all of that, and then when he goes on stage, he's just a like pocket dynamite. He just like
Yeah,
blows up, right? I've
I've seen I've seen Arvind before a stage like, there's a on the fourth row, this girl and this, and what about the lighting on the side, and then do you think this? And I'm like, just calm down, dude. And then he goes on stage and destroys, and you're like, you're that kid who wants to intimidate everybody else.
exactly right.
So I think it's a strategy, yeah.
But yeah, we even now in Chennai, like we live 2 streets away from each other, and again, I say you think there's only one school in Chennai, but SA and I went to the same school as well. So, but he's I'm really happy for him because in the school that we went to, there is a primary focus on education, and there are very, very few people who've gone the creative way. Like, I'm possibly one of the few sportsmen who took up cricket seriously. He's gone the other side, where he dabbled in films, and now he's a stand-up comic, which is a great life choice, right? Like, if you're in third standard and they ask you, what do you want to become? Like, nobody's ever going to say you're a stand-up. I want to become a
Yeah.
stand-up comedian. What did you say? I'm curious.
I think I mean, nobody even asked me because they saw me as a student and they're like, he will not know amount to anything. So they would be like, hey, what do you want to be pilot? And then they just saw and they moved on. There's no point. Why waste your time? I think when I was very young, I think Jyotish told my mom, I think when I was about 16 or something, he told my mom that Aapka beta pilot banega, he'll become a pilot. And my mom was like, he just failed his science, dude. What are you talking about? He barely scraped through. So there's a point in my, I think I became a comedian purely by coincidence because I started in like 2008. And at that point of time, there was barely any industry. So my situation is completely different from anybody else. Like, it wasn't even an option. Like, now at least it's there somewhere. Okay, I got to take a lot of questions because people are ask our question, etc. Again, if you want, please put a super chat. I will also try and take normal questions. And again, please do give a like so that more people tune in. Oh yeah, this is a good question. There's two questions actually which came in. I'll just take one thing from Cricket with Snehal Hindi. Snehal Pradhan says, "Are the hybrid left-hander?" There's a lot of hybrid left-handers though, right? People who decide that they're going to become left-handers as opposed to right-handers for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't think it's just like handwriting, right? You can choose to write right or left. So there's a fantastic story of a hybrid left-hander. So I don't know if you remember him. I think he's one of the selectors now, George Bailey. When he was with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
CSK, so George Bailey actually broke his shoulder. Like, he just he when he was diving, he had to go through a surgery, right? And then when he came back in those 9 months that he was out and he couldn't throw, he couldn't do anything with his right arm. He started throwing with his left arm, and he does it fabulously. Ashwin is another guy who can bowl, bat, and throw both hands. Vijay Shankar is another guy who can throw both hands. But again, I think you can, if you put your mind to it, it's just a skill. Apparently, it activates both sides of the brain. I don't know the amount of research that goes on to it. I had a friend who told me once that if you write with your left hand, it activates a certain side of the brain. But I don't write with my right hand only nowadays. We're typing with both hands nowadays.
I mean, technically, we are ambidextrous. Like, we are the hybrid left-handers. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh yeah, the George Bailey story I remember. Yeah, yeah. And George Bailey was also one of those who I think was. I don't know if this is a modern thing inspired by Steve Smith, or I think it probably. I mean, it still owes its allegiance to a Chandar Paul or whatever, which is about the batting stance. Because I remember George Bailey in a match, I think against South
Oh
Africa,
yeah.
where he almost turned the other side and Faf du Plessis and slips just laughing.
Yeah.
And then I mean this whole this Fawad Alam, there's Smith, there is Labuschagne, there is what's his name, Burns, and Sibley. Everybody has something strange happening. So is that something that you've ever experimented with? Because yesterday when I was listening to Nasser Hussain and I've forgotten the New Zealand quick, I forgot Simon Dool,
Uh-huh.
they basically said that it doesn't matter where you start from as long as you land up at that spot.
Correct.
So yeah, so what is have you ever experimented with something like that? And why do you think that so many people are experimenting with it right now?
I think it has to do more or less. Sometimes, as a left-hander, I can speak for myself, and I say I've had trouble with bowlers bowling from wide of over the wicket. So I used to turn my head and look at it. Like, my neck used to go all the time if I just stayed side on. So the reliance of side on, like, if you speak to someone in the 80s, everyone would say you need to play side on. You need to play side on. The game's become more front on now. Players are starting to flat bat. Players are starting to stand more towards hitting towards the leg stump. That has been something that has evolved in the game now. Even if you were a 90s kid, early 2000s, you played a slog sweep and got out, like, you got hit on the pads, the umpire would give you out LBW. Now everyone's practicing the slog sweep. Everyone's practicing the famous, like, Ada Marna. Like, the Ada term itself is you can't call it derogatory, but it's something like, hey, Ada Mar rahi. So it went from that to, like, hey, aada maar raha hai, like that, right? So, so that's the evolution. That's why I think players are standing in a way that they feel which is more comfortable, more convenient to get into the correct position. Someone like Hashim Amla, I saw recent innings of Hashim Amla. I can't believe he's gone to county cricket. He's playing there and he's standing outside leg stump and moving into a great position to leg stump. So everyone has got their ways, and Steve Smith goes right outside off stump. So,
Yeah.
like I said before, I don't think one size fits all.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take a question from somebody, and then I got to ask a lot more. By the way, Pratik Menon says, I just saw this thumbnail. Ha ha ha. Yes. I accept zero responsibility for it. Okay, a lot of people, Ankur Pandey as well as Rohan Patil, are asking about the Crickbuzz article on Ranji Trophy earnings. This is the one where you said that I think you've done this comparison, right? Where you said that 10 to 12 lakhs per year versus minimum contract in IPL. Is this the same one? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what's your standpoint? Like, I think you were saying that Ranji players need to get paid more. Is that what is it?
Uh, Technically, Ranji players are supposed to be paid more. So
Right.
the question that the essence of the article is basically where we had a pay hike in 2018, but because we've not had the gross revenue share that's come in from the BCCI for the last couple of years, we are still stuck in the same salary. And without any cricket that has happened the last year, so a few lucky ones like me, I've dabbled in broadcasting. I'm employed with a leading corporate in Chennai. So for me, it's not taken as big a hit as someone who just depends on Ranji Trophy. Those 10, 12 lakhs of income for the year, they've just stopped earning it. So it's just a very difficult time for all of these players, especially with COVID. And if unfortunately someone in your family gets diagnosed with COVID, then you have to shell out 10, 12 lakhs of hospital bills, right? So it does take a big hit. But my standpoint is that there are 38 teams in the Ranji Trophy, and it's going to be a nightmare for the BCCI to conduct a tournament all over the country, considering how the country, like half of the states are in lockdown, right? So hopefully it does happen later in the year. But I just wish that domestic cricketers do have some sort of statement or communication from the BCCI that okay, this is what we're planning ahead for you guys.
I guess they're waiting for the situation to change. I also got to ask you this about the Ranji Trophy, right? Like, I mean, I always thought like, hey, I'm a big cricket fan, and it's during the lockdown that I started realizing that I think I'm just a international cricket fan, and then I started watching a lot of like I read, and I have to mention this on every cricket podcast that I do. I read Akash Chopra's book about his Ranji Trophy campaign, the two of them, which I thought was really like. While reading this, I was like, "Oh, this is a different world, right?" About traveling, and I started it started resonating with me as a comedian because every third chapter was about him complaining about hotel rooms. I was like, "Yeah, I've been there." But I wasn't aware of how exciting Ranji Trophy was, right? Like there's so much stuff at play, right? So I'm just curious what is required because at the end of the day, it's about revenue, right? It's about how much it churns out and all of that. This thing. Do you think there's anything? Because I think Ranji Trophy, because they've changed the rules a little bit now, it also is leading to more results, etc., which is obviously great for the game. But is there anything else that's missing from the Ranji Trophy to make it a lot like to increase the viewership?
Um, it's an interesting question because I think county cricket has kind of taken on the fact that players need to wear shirts that have their names, which is common in international cricket. That's a development from the county game. That's one. I wish there were more international players playing the Ranji Trophy. With their tight schedules and with with them being busy all year, you hardly find your international players playing Ranji Trophy anymore. There are
Hmm.
hardly one or two players that come in and play a couple of games there. That could increase like the television viewership if it is on television, and also see 4 day cricket, 5 day cricket at best is for the purist, right? It's a very there are people who follow Ranji Trophy. We live in a bubble Like I've played about 13 seasons, and I've always lived in a bubble that, oh wow, everyone watches Ranji Trophy, everyone looks at it. For me, the lockdown was a realization that nobody watches it. so so I would love for the game to go in that direction, but unfortunately I have to be very realistic about it as well. I think the game right now has evolved. You say you're an international cricket fan. About 75% of other cricket fans would say they're IPL cricket fans. There will
Right.
be about 10 or 20% of the cricket fan base right now who will say, oh yes, I love watching test match cricket, I love watching days cricket, I will sit on the television all day and watch 90 overs. But you will hardly find that large chunk of the audience wanting to watch a 4-day game.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it also relates to broadcasting, right? Like with regards to broadcasting, they're always trying to figure out the best way to make, like, so for example, you've done the dugout, which is my favorite way to watch the IPL. Like
Wow.
like I thoroughly enjoy it because it's like the analysis and then the banter and then the Scott Star is being ripped on off. I thoroughly enjoy that. And I've always thought that it was like, even from a POV of the commentators, etc., etc., like I think it can be made far more exciting and different, right? Like Mandara Bedi stepping in to commentate on the Cricket World Cup was an interesting move because it got more eyeballs to tune in to say, hey, what is this? I've said this before, and I know that this is a selfish interest. Have comedians commentate on games. I'm serious. I'm not even joking. It'll be great,
So
dude.
the Tamil
It'll be
audience
great.
doesn't have a
Yeah.
comedian, but we have an actor slash funny
Uh,
man like RJ Balaji on it. So I'm
right.
sure you know
Yeah.
RJB is like a big part of our Tamil commentary team. There's another guy who's Muthu, who's really funny. There's RK, who's the cricket expert. And then we have all of us. We're talking like cinema. We're talking like we're talking everything from under the sun, and we talk a little bit of cricket as well. So that's Tamil commentary for you, essentially. I'm sure like people who are watching this would be able to resonate with whoever, like from the Tamil audiences. They would say that we don't talk essentially only cricket. We do talk like deviate into other topics as well. But yeah, so they are trying all of these things for T20 cricket, sort of like the
Right.
100, which is going to happen, right? They're dabbling with a live band in the middle of a game, and it's going to be 100 ball, like with the last over being 10 balls. So there
Yeah.
are all of these frills that are coming into cricket. The only problem is test match cricket. If you kind of fiddle with it too much, it'll, whoever likes it already, they will start losing the interest to it. It's a very
Right.
like it's 100-year legacy of the game being a certain way, and I for one would like the game to remain like that.
I mean, I agree with you. I think like I was watching, I was trying to tune in to follow Hanuma Vihari in the county right now, and it was very interesting to even listen to the commentary and the coverage, etc., etc. It was quite interesting, and I'm like, I mean, this is no different from the Ranji Trophy. It's just that, and again, you're right. You can't for 4 days or 5 days. You can't just keep talking cricket. It's
Correct.
and you have to have, like, I realized, like, I won't name who was in the commentary box during the England New Zealand thing. And I'm like, I wish you guys, a lot of you would hang out a little bit before the game, right? Just to like create some relationship as co-workers or whatever it is. Okay. Raghav Bhargav says purist is the new cool. Yeah, yeah, completely. Okay, a lot of people are asking this, which is about Abhishek Khade. Thanks a lot for your super chat, as well as Mithu Chaudhary. Lots of people are asking about your experience in the select dugout. So what is that like? Is that also, do you enjoy the sort of vibes and all that stuff, or and do you think, is that something you watch? Right? I actually, just give us some gossip. Give us, what does Scott Cyrus do before? Has he ever stolen Shane Watson's wallet? Like I don't know. Yeah. So what's it like being in the dugout? Yeah.
So well, it's actually Scotty's baby, and of course the late great Dean Jones, right? So it was Scotty and Dino who were like the pioneers of the dugout, and since then a lot of these other guys have come in and taken to it in a lovely way. I enjoy Graham Swan. Swanee is actually a stand-up comic. Then he's a cricketer because he's really really funny, and he enjoys like playing around with the even with the ads, right? Like he just says, So what's your favorite thing to do at the moment? It's your Sear Tires strategic timeout. And he goes
Yeah,
like, he just
yeah,
does all of these. He does a fantastic Pommy Mubangwa accent. He does a Danny Morrison accent. He has all of these gimmicks that he does. Sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, that was a very polite sneeze. Yeah, nicely suppressed. This is a very
Yeah.
broadcast sneeze you just did right now.
Yeah. So select dugout is, so I love the fact that we get into the nitty gritties of the game.
Yeah,
We have access to like a lot of cameras, and we have an access to a bunch of analytic guys who bring out stories essentially for that particular game, like matchups, or even something as small as decoding an action and running between the wickets. I remember Brian Lara talking about Chris Jordan doing like the whole circle of run, which cost them the game last year. Like he was this much short, and Kings 11 Punjab lost that game by a run, right? Went into the super over. So he's talking about how you run in between the wickets. So it is a very enjoy. And I also, even though I understand how YouTube works and how marketing and channels and broadcasting works, I love the fact that there are very minimal ads on the dugout, essentially as a
yeah.
as just a lover of the game. I like watching the game without ads. But my wife and I were essentially fighting all the time, because when we are watching a cricket match, I watch the cricket, she watches the ads. So she loves the ads, and I don't know how so before I got married, I used to mute the television when the ads used to run. And
Yeah.
she's like, why do you do that? Like, you need to, I want to watch the ads. Like, it's so much fun. So yeah.
Yeah, and cricketers doing ads a lot. Like, so it's so funny. I was speaking about Rahul Dravid, who's one of my favorite cricketers, if not like, I mean, definitely top five of all time for me. But he did an ad for, I think, some car wale or whatever, which you just like, you realize that the importance of a good director. Because obviously on that particular ad, the director was just like, I have shit to do, just something, do do something. And so Rahul Dravid is most awkward in that particular ad, okay?
Correct.
And then you cut to him doing the credit, and you're like, oh my god, you always had it in you. You just required a
Yeah.
great director to and he's done ads before in the past.
Correct.
Um, so yeah, those ads are great fun. I just want to say, Sony Live, if you're watching, please get some more ads for England versus New Zealand. There's one Betway ad that comes, the only ad that comes plays throughout the day, and it's great. Listen, Betway is great company. I hope they sponsor the show as well. But if you need money, just let me know, Sony Live. I will be happy to sponsor randomly me popping in the middle. Uh, okay, I'll just take a couple of comments, etc., that are popping in. Rohan Patil says, saw your triple hundred in Nashik. Wow, that's amazing. Um,
Thank you, Rohan.
Aditya Ravi has a very absurd problem. Abhinav sir, why aren't you holding the cup by the handle? This is just random feedback. There you go. See,
Yeah.
we make your dreams come true on the show. Okay, and okay, not Mithun, but thanks for taking my question. Okay, yeah. Oh, by the way, Arvind S says, not our Arvind, another Arvind. Arvind is coaching the next thing for Abhinav Mukund. It's actually very interesting, because I completely understand what you did with going to England. For that time period where you did a coaching course as
I
well.
did there. I did one there because it's mandatory with your visa. So ECB has a rule that if you take a visa to come and play cricket in England, you have to do a level. It's the level 1 here. It's called the level 2 in ECB. So I did that. I also did a level 2 coaches course in with the NCA now recently, like the last year or so. See, it's a very interesting question, because not all players can become good coaches. Not all great players can become good coaches. I believe that there is so much to the game that is to be learned when you become a good coach. And for example, I didn't know anything about fast bowling. I just knew, like, if they come in running like this, the ball's going to go in or go out. But how does it go in? How does it go out? How do you avoid an injury? There's so many like biomechanical terms that have come into the sport. Like if you just go on YouTube, like so many cricket videos who talk, there's so many guys now talking about like counter rotation and hyperextension and the wrist flick and all of these guys that are so interested in the game. But those are things that have come into the sport, like workload management for all of these fast bowlers. How do you incorporate the entire support staff, like physios and trainers, and uh, the entire management is involved in the decision of playing a certain individual. So it wasn't like that in the 90s or 2000s, where you just had one doctor or one physio or one manager that was traveling with the team. The game's become more scientific. It's evolved to a place where it has become a professional sport. And I think it's fantastic for the game. So if you want to become a coach, you need to learn and read. I for one personally don't think that if you played for X number of games or X number of years, that doesn't necessarily qualify you as a coach. You need to learn more about the game to become a good coach.
So what is it? I mean, it's so interesting that you mentioned about the biomechanics, etc., of fast bowling. I saw this video recently about where Damien Fleming, who was an Indian cricket fan in the 90s, you just absolutely hated because he
That's
always used
such
to
an
irritate India. Like
Yeah,
because you used to like you had Glenn McGrath, you're like, hey, it's Glenn McGrath. Then you saw Damien Fleming's record and you're like, my God, this guy was a fantastic bowler. Yeah, like what a record.
correct,
And he always used to keep nibbling at India. Like he
correct.
would keep at it, and you're just like, ugh. So anyway, Damien Fleming gave an analysis about Jasprit Bumrah, which I thought was really amazing, where he said that his release point is about 26 centimeters further away from most fast bowlers. And so basically the ball is coming faster at you, and then he said that's what's called a heavy ball. And I'm like, oh, because I've heard the term heavy ball 50,000 times,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I've never understood what it means.
correct.
So
So
I thought that was, yeah.
yeah, so the heavy ball is something where you don't expect the ball to come on as fast or as quickly to you as you expect, right? So that's basically. So Shane Watson bowled a heavy ball. He was on your show, right? Shane Watson sometimes bowled a heavy ball. You didn't expect him to suddenly come in and boom bowl that. But there are certain bowlers like Hardik Pandya bowls a heavy ball once in a while. And even though now
What does
like
it
he
mean?
just
What does it still mean? Like, because it's like when you see the pace, right? Like, and somehow you knew this about Watson that he
Okay,
used to
let me
bowl
give
that.
you like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
secret
yeah.
to broadcasting, right? Not
Right.
even broadcasting, secret to the numbers on television, like the 133, 140. It's just a viewer pleasure. You never, sometimes you think you're playing a guy who bowls, who looks like he's 130, but you'd be like, shit, this guy's nothing more than 110, 115. The speed gun is not as accurate as you think it is. Like I
Right.
believe it at least. And sometimes you're playing a guy and on the TV it shows 135. You'll be like, this guy is bowling like rapid, man. This guy is like 145 at least.
Right.
So a heavy ball is essentially one where you're getting ready to play, but it rushes onto your bat, like, or it just bounces from length and it hits the top of the bat. You're not quite ready for that kind of pace from the batsman. But Damon Fleming is right. Someone who releases the ball like further away from there. See, those are the kind of insights that have come in, like where you load the front arm, how you run, and how you release. What are you side on? Are you front on? All of these nuances have kind of crept into the game now.
Yeah, which is very interesting. Like, I mean, and that's been one of the great best pleasures in during the extended lockdown is just to hear all this insane cricket analysis, right? Even like Ashwin's YouTube channel or whatever, even Shoaib Akhtar saying something where you're like, this is so great. So okay, we have Achal Sharma and we have Rohit Rao. Thanks a lot for your super chat. Who says big fan of TN cricket. Hope you get to win a Ranji Trophy for us soon. Um, you've spoken about this before, which where you said that the difference between winning, like what wins you Ranji matches is the batsman, but what wins you championships is the fast bowlers. So, is there anybody on the horizon, a tearaway fast bowler who you think that, oh, this is the person who can do it for us?
I wish, I really
Uh,
wish, but it's very difficult to get a sort of fast bowler in Tamil Nadu, man. I don't know why or how, but we just need like better scouting systems, probably in the rural sides, in the districts or something, because we have a fantastic league structure, right? So our league starts in July. If everything was okay, our league would have started next month. What essentially happens is all of these fast bowlers bowl from July till August, September, and then we go into the Ranji Trophy, and most of them are tired already. The other guys, like even the guys from Karnataka, they come in like fully fresh, ready for a season from October to March. That's the good thing for Mumbai. Like it just starts raining from June to August, and nobody plays any cricket. So they're just sitting at home and they're fresh. I'm convinced the Mumbai monsoons are the reason they won like 38 on a lighter note. But the thing is, it's always good for fast bowlers to remain slightly more fresh throughout the season. I believe Ranji Trophy is sort of a sport that we play most in the north, and you have to play on green tops. It's played in the winter months of our country. Like if you go and play in Mohali or Dharamshala in December, it's like freezing. At least for someone from Chennai, it's freezing. So, essentially, you need guys who can bowl 20, 25 overs a day, like someone who can bowl a lot of overs and remain fresh and fast as possible throughout the season. That is something which we've kind of lacked. A good thing is Nattu is coming, Natarajan's coming. There's another guy called Sandeep Warrior who's moved states last year from Kerala. So a couple of them have come in. There are a couple of guys on the horizon who look very promising. So which is good.
Yeah, it's the heavy ball, and I mean, this is completely coming back to like I think probably the heaviest ball bowler in world cricket seems to be Neil Wagner right now.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
constantly fascinated by him, man. Like, I mean, I think Jared Kimber and me discussed him for 10 minutes because I was like, this is what a fascinating dude. Like, because like, I mean, again, if you're a cricket fan, please watch Jared Kimber's analysis of Neil Wagner. My God, it is beautiful. It is like it's a work of art. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think Neil Wagner is one of those rarities in cricket, right? He's
Yeah.
just like nobody will ever come and say, okay, yeah, I will bowl the bouncer for the next 75 overs.
That's what they try to do in Uttar Pradesh with you. So that's Neil
Yeah.
Wagner's career. Yeah.
Yeah, but Neil Wagner has done it for such an extended period of time. Uttar
Yeah.
Pradesh bowled one spell of that to me, like
Yeah.
15 overs. He essentially does it day in, day out, every single game. So that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it is crazy. It's and also like the other day when I enjoyed his batting when like Conway is on the way to 200. So usually the tail ender would be like, "Hey, let's just play it out," and this guy's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get some runs." I was like, "Well done, man, Neil Wagner. This is such a Neil Wagner to be."
Yeah.
I'm also always fascinated by players who are who sort of seem to fill a gap, but are not like crazy celebrated. But like Colin de Grandhomme for me is
You
quite
mean
pivotal to
fill the gap or
yeah,
fill the
Phil. I
gap?
mean, listen, anybody with hair, I'm jealous of, but he's taken it to the next level. But he bowled like some 18 overs, I think, for like 2 runs yesterday, right? He was just like,
Ah,
I'm just going to plug this end and let Saudi do his job. And I'm like, that's such an important thing to be doing.
correct.
Uh, yeah,
Correct, especially in Test match cricket, right? Teams that have done well have always had that one bowler who could come and fill in, and like Jack Carlis would do it for the longest time with South Africa, and Colin de Grandhomme, I think, will be very useful in English conditions. He'll get smashed if he comes to India. No
huh,
offense to his line and length and swing and all of that, but doesn't swing in India, so I don't
yeah,
think you can use him as your fourth bowler in subcontinental conditions. But he was amazing. Like that would just give your bowlers a kind of good break. One guy
yeah,
just coming in, and that is the Ranji Trophy style of bowling, by the way,
right.
where lunch to tea you just kind of plug the field. Like there are seven fielders on one side, and one guy just comes in and bowls just outside off stump. Mumbai cricket have been like kind of they've known to do have that strategy for years, like just tire the batsman out, not tire the
Yeah.
bowler out. It's the other way around.
Yeah. It's the curve word, right? The what is the
Kadus,
cruise cricket? Yeah.
Kadus.
Which is
Yeah.
like I think Mumbai cricketers hate that word because they're like, no, we are more than that. The rest of the country is like, no, you are, man. So yeah. Okay. Wagner's a heavy batter these days as well. Yeah, completely agree. Okay. I got to ask you this, which is that I mean, looking at like say a Fawad Alam and also looking at the fact that India now has two teams essentially playing in two countries. I'm sure this is at the if at the back of your head, which is the India comeback, right? Is that something that because you've been consistently like I was going through the Ranji numbers for the last like whatever years, you've always been there, right? Which is that either top of the charts for TN or in the top like 5 or 6 in the Ranji Trophy. So is it like watching somebody like a Fawad Alam or whoever else it is? Do you go like, yeah, I mean, this is possible if you just keep plugging? Is that something?
Yeah, so it's given me a kind of a good diversion from the fact because I've realized I've made one comeback. I've
Hmm.
realized that if you constantly keep thinking of comebacks, it's just it's a very difficult space to be in, even in your personal life, right? So it's a key place where I can show my skills. And life has taken a turn towards. I never thought I would be a commentator. I never thought I would write articles. I never thought I'd be on your YouTube show.
I mean, that's the pinnacle, right? I mean, this is like a test comeback.
Wake up with Sorabh Pant. Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm not thinking about all of these things at the moment. I'm just taking it one day at a time and just enjoying. I enjoy being around cricket. I enjoy watching the game. I'm a cricket. I'm a self-confessed like cricket nuff. Like I keep watching all sorts of games everywhere. I wasn't watching. I was telling someone, one of my friends in the Netherlands, that there's a Netherlands Island game going on in Utrecht. Like go watch, man. Like he lives in Utrecht, so I was telling him that. So I do follow up a lot. I do. I read a lot of these articles. Unlike many cricketers, many of them don't even open Cricinfo or Crickbuzz. I love reading all of these articles and tidbits about cricketers and what's happening in the world. So right now I'm just enjoying being around cricket. So that's a good place to be in.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I get increasingly frustrated with people not understanding what success is as a cricketer, right? Like a lot of Indian cricket fans are like, unless you're Dhoni or Kohli, your career has never made it, right? So do you
Yeah.
sometimes get irritated with people constantly asking you about like just that? It's that, hey, test, as opposed to there's a lot of other stuff you're also doing. I mean, the Ranji Trophy is a big part of it. Does that ever annoy you, or is that just like, hey, this is part and parcel of how this works? Yeah, it's not
I used to get annoyed.
right.
Because the one constant question on everyone's mind was, anywhere I go in the country was, why aren't you playing in the IPL?
Huh.
Why aren't you playing for CSK? Why haven't you been picked in the IPL? That was something why I ran away to England in the first place. That used to
Right.
keep like coming at me all the time. Boss, it's not like I didn't want to play in the IPL. I didn't get picked. There's a
Hmm.
difference. It's an auction. Even you can come into the auction if you played first class cricket. So uh, I essentially ran away, and now I'm at peace with myself. I probably am never going to play in the IPL ever. And
Hmm.
I just think that because again you're in the public eye, and because people want to ask you questions, they don't have anything else to ask you, right? Oh,
Hmm.
so when do you want? What's your plan? Like, what's Abhinav Mukund going to do in the next couple of years? I just want to be. I just want to. I just want to take one day at a time and see what life has in store. Like because 2 years ago when I played the last Ranji Trophy game versus Saurashtra, I didn't think there would be any Ranji cricket for the next year and a half. I had to do
Yeah.
something, which is why I kind of dabbled in media and all of these other things. But the truth is, people do ask questions for the sake of asking them, and
Hmm.
I have a set answer for it too.
Yeah, you reach a point where you're like, yeah, okay, this one's coming up. Like, so, I watched a lot of your interviews over the last few days, and a lot of the times I could sense that. Like, and as you sense this even as any public figure, right? Like, as a comedian, right? You know that they're going to ask you, hey, where do you get your ideas from? And so you're like, this is my rehearsed answer of where I get my ideas from, which is usually alcohol. That is the right answer. Um, Shavik says Colin de Grandhomme took 5 wicket haul in last two series test series. Absolutely correct. Techman says is Ishant Sharma the Neil Wagner for India. You know what I really miss about Ishant Sharma is that like I miss those kind of celebrations which I like. I know for a fact that it was getting to the batsman. Right when somebody what's his name? Who's the West Indian guy who does the
Cottrell.
yeah, I'm sure as a batsman, right? Like even Hassan Ali doing that whole boom
Oh
thing.
yeah.
As a batsman, doesn't it get to you where you're like, yeah, man, like, yeah,
That's the worst part about being a batsman. If they get you out right, like
yeah,
you're going to see the celebration right in front of your face. You know what's talking about celebrations? Have you seen this video of this guy called Kesrick Williams who does
yeah,
that
yeah,
whole who puts it in his notebook? That is the celebration that annoyed me. I was
yeah,
actually like, it became I never watch a cricket game as a cricket fan, right? But when
yeah.
Virat Kohli took him to the cleaners in one of the games, I was like, yes, do this to him. Like, imagine, like, once you get out, you come right in front of your face. There's this other video, I think his name is Chadwick Walton, the guy who
No idea.
just hit him in a CPL game, took his bat, and
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time
yeah,
he hit him, he
yeah,
just
yeah,
went
yeah.
that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when it comes to annoying celebrations, is probably Kesrick Williams was one of those, but it doesn't get to you, man. Like Ishant or even Cottrell, it doesn't get to you. It's not intended at you, right? Even Hassan Ali for that matter.
Yeah.
But when someone's trying to get in your face, like Kesrick Williams, then it probably might get to you.
But I mean, is it like if I was Kesrick Williams, I would keep doing it. Like,
Yeah,
right, because like you
correct.
know that this is obviously like I think when he got when Kohli took him to the cleaners in that one match, the next match he got him out, and then he told his teammates don't say
Yeah.
anything. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like as a
Yeah.
viewer, you're like, oh, you want who's the guy who hits the no look six? It's not. The West Indian cricketer who hits the no look six where he just hits it, and I think Sundar did it in the Test match against
Oh
Australia as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
correct.
I mean, these are things where, as a viewer, you're like, ooh, there's going to be something happening here. I thoroughly enjoy it. Okay. Uttam Kumar has a question which I think is quite valid, which is that the India A international tours have stopped completely, or and this is related to his question, where he said, should some of the talented pool of Indian players be allowed to go to associated countries, teams, or other cricket leagues? That's actually a good question because Smith Patel and a bunch of other people have essentially retired to go and play this thing in the US. But do you think there should be more of international tours for cricketers who are not in the main side, or do you think that the IPL, in some roundabout way, at least from the BCCI perspective, sort of serves that purpose?
So if you play contracted cricket, like you're not contracted, but if you play domestic cricket in India, you're not allowed to play in leagues outside. You're not allowed to
Right.
play in T20 leagues anywhere in the world. That is the rule that is being set by the BCCI, which is why Smith Patel had to retire. He's also a green card holder, if that helps. Yeah, in the
I'm
US.
sure that does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that a lot of people don't know. It's not like he just randomly migrated to the US. He is from US. So is Harshal Patel, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think a lot of these Indian players who have kind of retired or on the verge of retirement are playing in many major leagues in the US. So US cricket is suddenly like blowing up. And it also gives them the opportunity to play in the Caribbean Premier League,
Yes.
which is fantastic. Because if you're a cricketer, and like I said, if you haven't made any money in the last year and a half, then you have to go fend for yourself, and this is the only way you know to ply your trade. It's not like I can I read a fantastic story that day that Xavier Doherty is now a full-time carpenter. Like, power to you, man. Like,
Yeah.
World Cup winner and all of that, and he decided like carpentry is my calling, so he's done that. But I can't become a carpenter, or I can't become I need to do something related to the game. And like most of the guys in the country. So if you have to go and play in league somewhere, then I think that's the way forward, right? Because there are so many associate nations that have started playing the sport seriously. Netherlands, for one, is has always been in the fringes. The ICC has announced it's going to be a 14 team tournament yeah, in the coming years. And I see a lot of cricket being played in Hong Kong, Singapore, all of these small time nations where you can go and play your trade there if you don't make it to the big leagues in India.
Yeah, and I think what we've covered essentially here is that I think people tend to, like, if you have any job which is in any form of spotlight, people just assume that money magically appears, right? Like you start a YouTube channel. Like I was doing this, and I used to tell people, hey, if you want to support the show, support it on Insta, Mojo, and PayPal. One guy wrote me a long email. He's like, what is this? You have a platform. You're so popular. Why do you ask for this dan? And I'm like, dude, this is a pandemic happening. Are you aware of this? I'm not on stage every day right now. So do you sometimes think that people just generally don't understand that we all need to also make a living? No
Correct.
matter what your this thing is, you need to make a living.
100%. I'm lucky to do what I love for a living. So are
Yeah.
you, because I'm sure you enjoy being on stage and doing all of that. But if not, you do have to find ways to support your family, right? You can't just sit at home. The only thing I know to do is cricket. I can't randomly become a stand-up comedian, or I can't become a guy that goes and works in a 9 to 5 somewhere. I can't do that. because no one will employ me. I'm not good at it. So essentially, I have to do something that keeps me occupied, as well as a means to an end for my family. So I don't see any harm in players going and playing in league somewhere else, or coaching, or doing various other things on social media, whatever. I just think it is just a way to make a living.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so a lot of people have said Satvik, Aishwarya Nair have said it's Fletcher. Yeah, Andre Fletcher is the guy with the no look
Andre
six. Yeah,
Fletcher,
yeah,
yes,
he's
yes,
the
yeah.
guy. Makes complete sense. Okay, I got to ask you this, which is slightly related to everything. And by the way, if you're watching this, please do give a like if you're enjoying this conversation. Even if you're not, just give a like. Just give it, man. What is your problem? Uh, that is my style, which is just like it. Okay, I got to ask you about Naomi Osaka,
Oh
if you're
wow,
following the
okay,
story, which
I
is
am.
that so for those who are not following the story, Naomi Osaka basically decided to withdraw from the French Open after her first round win. She I think she gave an interview or didn't give an interview, and then was fined $15,000, and it was apparently part of your contract as a tennis player that you have to do these media these things. And the head of the French Open essentially said that if you do further these things, we are probably going to disqualify you. And she's just like, I can't deal with these media interactions, and she just withdrew from the French Open. So there's a lot at play here, because there's contracts, there's also mental health, there's all of this these takeaways. As a professional sports person yourself, like what do you think? What do you think about this whole thing?
It's a very serious question, Saurabh. It's
Mm,
well, I've actually been in a dichotomous frame of mind with regards to the Naomi Osaka issue, right? Because as an Indian sports person, once you sign a contract, once you sign something that is on paper, you're bound legally to do it.
right.
It's just the mentality of me, or as a country. I think we do. I like the fact that okay, it's on paper. I have to do certain things, so I will do it, even if it puts my mental health under the scanner, or if I'm pushed beyond points of not feeling okay.
Right.
Naomi Osaka, being an individual sports person, has taken the call to not attend any press conferences. Yes, but I also believe that the journalists and the players go hand in hand. I think I said it on the Kimber podcast as well, because earlier we I used to hate doing interviews, and then I realized only if people start talking about me will people know that the fact that the Ranji Trophy exists and I've scored so many runs, blah blah blah. Like Sorabh Pant, like today he's researched like 5 years of my cricket scores, so today,
Yeah.
and you've told this to about how many other people that are watching the show right now, which is great. But
Right.
on the Naomi Osaka standpoint, I'm not questioning the fact that she has any mental health issues. Just don't get me wrong there. But my opinion is of the fact that if there are certain rules set by a body that you're playing a tournament for, then I think you'll have to follow the rules just like every other individual. So if she's withdrawn out of the tournament because of the fact that she cannot attend these press conference, then more power to her. I hope she recovers soon, and she's able to get the best possible help possible. But at the end of the day, if you're a professional elite athlete, you want to be playing in such high profile tournaments. Virat Kohli has come out and said about mental health, and the impact it has had on players in bubbles all the time. The Indian team, if you're in all three formats, you're going to be inside a bubble for the next 5 months. So
Yeah.
it is hard, and the consequence of such actions with regards to um, like being in bubbles and being in quarantine, all of that has taken a toll on the current sportsman. But I have read few articles where journalists have supported her, and few articles where journalists have gone against her. I just think that it's okay for now, but I would think if I were in her position, it's best that she's withdrawn out of the tournament. But if you have rules set for all individuals participating in a particular tournament, then you have to follow them. That's my take on it.
What do you think about, because I mean it's such a 3D thing, right? There's so much at play here, right? There's contractual obligations. There's like, and then there's mental health, which you can't really say anything against because it's the mental health of an individual.
Correct.
But what do you think of this idea, which we discussed on The Expert, and anybody who saw yesterday's show of The Expert, where one very famous journalist called Tanmay, that was his name, we don't know his surname, he just said that it should be decoupled, where you should just remove like the media obligations, and that's part of your, like if I was doing a TV show or whatever, they literally put it in the contract that you have to do XYZ number of media interactions, right? And so it's almost part of the deal. Now I'm not doing a TV show, that's a separate thing altogether, and nobody's ever called me, but but so do you think that it's almost like it might lead to people saying that, hey, you know what, this is the tennis or cricket or whatever it is, and this is the media interactions, and if you it's almost like you're being paid to talk to the media, which is in essence you probably are as a professional sports person.
You are right, because all of these press conference, like journalists are there, and most of it is sponsored more or less. You have so many events that happen during the IPL that you hardly even hear of. Like the main sponsor gets to have an event. Like now it's on Zoom, obviously, but when before the pandemic, it was you had your whole bunch of corporates coming in and asking questions to all of your players. That is the essence of. So it works like, as I said, it works hand in hand. Unless you have sponsors for a TV show, like for a big event like the IPL or even the Roland Garros, right? You have big sponsors coming in. You do have to appreciate or give respect to the fact that they have certain commitments that they have to fulfill. And that
Yeah.
is why I say it's overall a big thing. Unless people are watching the sport won't be a big hit. At the same time, if unless the players participate in the sport won't be a big hit. So it all has to work together in the right. What's the word for it? Well, um, I think players and individuals and athletes and all of these other people involved in the sport, like broadcasters, the stakeholders in the game, all of them have to work hand in hand, which is the ideal world.
Right.
It
Yeah.
rarely happens, but it is the best possible scenario that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think in this particular situation, I agree with everyone. I
Yeah.
literally do, because I agree with the organizers that, hey, this is part of the contract, and I completely agree with her as well, because I think her stance is brave, and it's like
Yeah.
what she's done is interesting, and at least opened up the conversation. Because I've heard, and I would love to know what your opinion on this is. I've heard, like, I think the seven tests you played, you went in press conferences for like four of them. Right. And I mean, your press conference was relatively chilled out, but I've heard journalists just be intentionally, I don't know what the word is, right? So, have you ever had any interactions with journalists where you're just like, you know what, this is just, you know what, just go away?
There are ways of handling the media, sort of. There
Right.
are, like, you are bound to ask questions that make zero sense, right? Some people try to take them on, and some people just try to play it down a little bit, which is why you get the most cliched answers on interviews. So the next time, so because I'm in
Yeah.
broadcasting now, like I look at the press conferences every time that a player goes in. So how many times will you hear, oh yeah, I was just looking to focus on the process, play to the merit of the ball. These are the most cliched lines.
Yeah.
We have a great atmosphere in the dressing room. The team will be losing like 4 or 5 games. They'll come on the pre-show and they'll say, oh, the atmosphere in the dressing room is great. I'm like, why are you lying, man? Like, we all know the atmosphere isn't great. So you're anyway going to get these cliched answers sometimes.
Yeah.
But it is a commitment that you have towards the broadcaster and the commitment you have towards the franchisee as well. So again,
Yeah.
it just works well together.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy when these kind of answers pop out, and I also enjoy people who've just started their career in this big stage suddenly, and they've been briefed that, hey, listen, just say I pitched the ball up, like just that's the answer for every question. It's like, what's
And
the team? Yeah.
and and I had a recurring thing going with one of my state teammates. I won't name him, okay?
Huh.
It's just a banter that I've got running with a few commentators in the box. Every sentence he would start with, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
Every sentence. I understand you're honest, I understand you're truthful, but To be honest. So for me, it was just a very like funny thing because I've done all of these like press cons and I've done these interviews, and you have to be cliched, man.
Yeah,
You can't say, oh yeah, the dressing room atmosphere is shit. I hate playing
yeah.
here.
Yeah, my
So
captain tried to stab my vice captain. What you have to say is that, to be honest, I
yeah,
was told to pitch the ball up. That's the basic thing you can say. You know what? As I get older, I've started realizing like these cliche answers so much more because
yeah,
I'm like this cricketer or this person doesn't owe you anything. Right?
yeah,
They're
correct,
just trying to get through these questions so that they can go back to practicing or doing whatever it is they do.
correct.
Snehal Pradhan. Hey, by the way, we have to call Snehal on the show. Yeah, I'm so glad that
We
you're here
should.
because I have to.
We
Yeah,
should. Yeah,
yeah,
she's been fantastic. I did one of. I think I did a BBC interview with her. She spoke really well.
yeah. She's
It's,
great. So she has. I have a possible solution that I'd love to get your views on. If there's a situation where a player doesn't feel well enough to talk to the media, why not someone from her team, coach, etc., some talk? And this is the pro. I mean, this is the advantage of being in a team sport like
correct.
cricket is
Correct.
that you and I've noticed this as a trend with the Indian team as well, where it'll be the younger players who go for the press conference. Uh, is
Not
that
necessarily. Not
right?
necessarily.
Uh,
It's not the case because I think the captain has a particular commitment. Captain and the coach have to do a press conference pre and post game. I think
right.
that is that is
Okay.
an obligation that they have to fulfill. But otherwise, the normal press cons, I think you can just pick and choose who you want. Sometimes the media even asks, like there is a request that comes into the media manager and says, I want X player to come and
Right.
do the interviews and stuff. So those are requests which you can or cannot need not fulfill. But there are certain mandatory things that you have to fulfill. But it's a great suggestion. It is great because if you're I'm sure tennis players have their entourage too, because they have like 15 other guys that are traveling with them. There's
Hmm.
physios, trainers, and massage therapists, all of them with your elite like tennis players. So it's not a bad idea um, to send one of those if you're not feeling up to it.
Yeah, and I don't see the and as a viewer again, I actually think that there's so many characters in any sport or
Correct.
any organization, so to speak, that you would be like, you never know, the therapist or whatever would probably come out with some insights where you're like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Because as we discussed, players have been briefed so much with like, hey, don't say anything, essentially, right? Just go out there and say things which are nothing so that nothing happens. Like, that's basically the
Correct.
brief. So
Correct.
I would rather occasionally have like something like that happen. So completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask you this last question which I had, which is that you and Inzamam have a very interesting connection, which is that you've both chased a spectator. Inzamam with the bat and you with a shoe.
I didn't chase a spectator. I was just running away from the
Oh, you were running
striker
away
zone.
from
Yeah.
it. Okay. Okay, so then my research is, which is myself, is completely wrong. Okay. Okay, I think that's about it. We've covered a lot of things. It's been a very interesting conversation. Abhinav Mukund, really big thanks for coming out for everybody. Is there anything you'd like to tell people to do anyway? You'd like to tell? You also have a YouTube channel which you've
I should like get back on it,
yeah,
man. I think I will.
yeah.
I want to start. I just don't want to be like I'm still on a consensus whether I want to get into like technique of the game or do I just want to have a fun show. I think there's so much content out there. It's very I'm big salute to all the content creators because someone like an Akash Chopra, man, like
Oh
salute
my
to him.
God.
Like this guy like puts out YouTube videos every morning. Like he finishes a 10-hour broadcasting stint, comes back in the room and he's recording like stuff for the next day. He's just
Yeah.
like a machine. So I don't know if I have the discipline like someone like Akash, but if I want to do something, I want to do something very in the sense in the right way. I want to put out
Hmm.
some good content out there. I want to I feel like I have embraced this whole media thing quite well. So might as well like take it forward. That was a fun thing that I did with a couple of friends of mine
I
that I
saw that.
put it
Yeah.
up on YouTube. But if I do put up something, I will definitely like even if it's a good night with Abhinav rather than wake up with Sorabh. I will do something that is fun and obviously educative.
Superb. So please follow Abhinav on Twitter and on Instagram as well. It's Abhinav Mukund, I think, pretty much everywhere. And thanks to everybody who tuned in. Really appreciate it. Before going, if you enjoyed this conversation, please give a like and give suggestions on who you'd like to see in the future. And tickets for Expert are there. And if you want to support the show, InstaMojo and PayPal is the place to do it, guys. Abhinav, this has been a real pleasure, man. I generally thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Next time we'll try and get like I want to get essay and I want to get CPK and we'll just have a hang where we'll just talk about all sorts of
Of
nonsense.
course,
That's always
them,
a fun
them.
idea.
Like we can talk about how comics from Mumbai and comics from Chennai are so different. Like we
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
like so many other things that sometimes we don't even know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's so interesting that you mentioned this, right? So I've always been known for very high energy on stage, right?
Yeah.
And then I did a show where the lineup was back to back: Aditi Mittal, Karthik Kumar, SA, and somebody else. Okay, and I was closing the show. And so I was seeing this as an audience member, like 650 people, and the energy level is like going higher and higher with each consequent person. And then
Yeah.
essay comes like, this is insanity, right? So I get on stage and I'm like, this has been too much. So I spent the first 2 minutes just talking like to the children, to the audience like they're children. They were like, hey guys, everybody cool. So I completely get the differences in style and who they are as people, etc. I think it's fun. So yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, it's been a pleasure. I don't I've never done a stand like a YouTube show with a comic, so it's my YouTube debut, I guess, with a comedian. It's been fun. I will definitely be on the lookout for more stuff, and please support him on InstaMojo, PayPal, etc. And it's not done.
We have a last thing. Shavik says, check Martian Lynch. I'm here so I don't get fined. What is that? I don't know. Okay. Thanks a lot, man. Shavik, whatever that is. Take care, Abhinav Mukund. Really nice for being here. Everybody, take care. Love you all, man.